We are starting the meeting Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. And we're going to start with approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, May 17th?
Make a motion to approve the minutes, May 17th.
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody have anything that they want to add to it? Or comments, changes? Okay, all in favor? All right, and that moves us into, we're going to have an executive session in accordance with MSRA 4056E to discuss a legal matter. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, and a second from Eric. All in favor? All right, we are in executive session.
This is a drawn down day. And this is where the line is flowing.
All right.
I'm just interested to see that.
All right, so we are out of executive session, and we're going to move on to our financial report with Katie Johnson, who I don't think anybody on camera watching knows Katie.
Hi.
It's a recording, Katie. All right, so will you give us your financial report, please?
Yeah, so I just did the same thing that Tanya used to do, so I just provided the same information that revenues are down from $28,000 from last year comparatively. 75K variance in expenses, and capital work is definitely in full swing. Definitely increased from last month at $448,000, and $3.26 million in cash on hand.
One thing?
A couple of little things. It's not on this agenda, but election of officers that usually happens, was that February of every year with the trustee boards?
Yeah.
March, you're correct. We always elect the clerk, and that's always been our financial director, which was Tanya was the clerk. I assume when she resigned from her position here at the district, she resigned from being clerk of the district as well.
Yep.
And I would like to see if, I don't know if the board can suspend the rules and appoint Katie the clerk for the remainder of this term, and then it can come back up, because we do have this position signs off on liens and different things. It's a business thing. We need to keep that flowing, and officially she's not the clerk. So
Okay, do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, so now do I have a motion on the floor to add Katie Johnson as the clerk?
I'd like to nominate Katie Johnson as a clerk for the Auburn Water District.
Okay, then discussion? All in favor?
all right,
Okay, that's passed 7-0.
thank you for doing that. And then
All right.
obviously if you,
We're gonna return back to our.
So that was a nomination. Do we actually have to vote now?
No, do we have to vote on her?
I think you just appoint her clerk to fill out that term. I think
All
that's
right.
kind of what you did.
Okay,
So if no one has a problem with that, we'll change nominate to appoint.
yep, we'll call that.
Friendly
that-
amendment.
yeah. So we agreed, she's nominated, and we agreed that she was appointed. We all agreed on that, yep. Congratulations, welcome,
you.
welcome to the, you are now clerk.
Clerk of the work.
So, yeah, I do have some more under financial update that I just wanted to bring up. In the memo, I don't know if you guys caught that, that A bullet that I put in there. This year's been tricky. One thing that I was fearful of going into this construction season, we had unfinished work through a contract with the city over in the Vernon Street area. So we had a contract that didn't get completed last year. There's still streets getting reconstructed. That contractor has a deadline. As soon as construction season opened this year, they started hammering over in that area. We have several streets where we still need to replace the water main. At the same time, all winter long, I had DOT and the city checking in with me, are you guys going to be ready to go on hotel? We need you to get hotel done ready. They were going to bid that project aggressively, and the work was going to begin as soon as potentially in April. So we had to stay ahead of them. So that meant that, okay, we've got to get our guys working over on the Vernon area, and we've got to get our guys working on the Hotel Road area to stay ahead of both of those projects. Throw into the mix, you have a project over on Mill Street going on in New Auburn, where we don't have any work directly involved in that, but they're digging up the streets, they're they're finding water mains every day, there's questions every day, we're highly involved in that, we've got crew members running over there. The third facet to this is 2nd Street. That project was bid through the winter, that was awarded. There was the unknown, when's that one gonna start? Some other contractor could get that, and he may wanna start April 1st. The one more thing thrown in on top of this is we've been down 2 employees on the sewer district. I know that's the sewer district, but here at the district, we share all of our employees. So if we're down 2 people out of our crew members, that's 2 less people we have getting work done. So it's hurt. We were spread thin, lots of jobs going on. We did contract with Amos Development. I know we've talked about this. We've seen their invoices coming through. That basically expands our crew and allows us to spread out and say, okay, we can send our guys with these 3 guys and their equipment, and we can work on this, and our crew can work on that. We're at or ahead of schedule of where I wanted to be for this year. But financially, this has really cost us. The project on Hotel Road has cost a lot more than we had budgeted. The materials costs are double what we had anticipated. The paving costs are up, and we had some errors in our records. Our records showed that all the services on the short side of the street were already connected to the 20. Well, when we killed the old main after we had connected all the long side, guess what? We started getting flooded with calls, I don't have any water. So the records where they had said, yeah, we connected this one, they were wrong. They never connected them. So we then had to now excavate the other side of the street up and start connecting those services. Again, ordering more parts, spending more time. We were going to be done with that job 3 weeks ago, and we're still wrapping it out up there today.
So is that contracted work or our work that thought that we
That's
thought
our
was
work.
all done?
Our records were not correct. Our records indicated that our crews, back in the 90s, connected those services up, when in fact they never did it. They aren't connected. They're still connected to the old main. So it was a good lesson for everybody on records and making sure you document that. And it's not anything that anyone that still works here at this time does, but it's a good lesson that how important those are and what, we rely on our records. How these incorrect records got into our files, they're pretty detailed too. It's, they connected it at this point, it's not even there.
So you were able to
Did not connect
re-energize the old main?
They went to Crescent Beach.
We turned the old main back on.
Give them water.
And got them water again, and then started connecting those up, but it just meant, it was pretty disappointing for our crews. You can imagine guys that have been working on a job for a month,
Yeah.
and they think, oh, we're all done, we're moving over to another one, and then, that night the calls come in, we have no water.
Okay.
Those Amos guys work well with our crew. I saw them out
Yeah.
there on Hotel Road. They work very well with our crew.
So if you see the statistics page in the financial updates, you can kind of see the meat and potatoes. We're $136,000 over budget on Hotel Road. That number's going to go up quite a bit. This was as of, when would this been updated? 2 weeks ago. So that's continued to grow. So I anticipate by the end of the year on all of our projects, we're going to be about $500,000 over what we're planning if we continue to do all the work that we budgeted to do. We did bond $2 million. That money was the terms of that were very general. This applies, we can use that money for this with no issue. I did look into this. We took $1 million of that $2 million, put it right into our cash on hand. That's why we have such a healthy cash on hand at $3.5 million at the end of May. I believe that's where we're at, yeah, $3.26 million on hand. And another $1 million of that is sitting in a CD that will mature again in 6 months. I think we can continue to roll that one over. And I think we have more than enough to cover this. But again, I just wanted to bring that up. There's a lot of factors, there's not just one. A lot of things have changed too. All of a sudden, Hotel Road, that project everybody was after me to get done, that hasn't even been bid yet. So in reality, I could have waited on that one, got these other ones done first. But it's just the nature of it. When I'm being told you have to get this done, you must get this done, they want me to get it done, all right, here we go, and we get it done, and they might start on it before the end of the summer. The good news is we're out of their way, it's no longer on our shoulders, but that would have been nice to know that I could have waited till July to pick away at that.
This was the city telling you that?
It was DOT and the city, and in the end, they wound up coupling the project with another project further out on Hotel Road. So they're gonna bid the two projects together to try to get a better price. So again, prices are high for everybody on construction. Everybody's doing what they can to be creative and get the numbers, as best they can. But I mean, I understand why they did that. But
DOT's the one that's in charge of that, though.
yeah, they're fun. They're
the ones that are-
bankrolling it.
They're the ones that, okay.
So it's another Library Avenue situation.
Well, a little different, but this one's still going to happen. It's just, library. That
How
was
many years ago was that? They were in a heck of a sweat for us to get it done, and then
right. They still haven't done.
our
library.
pavement's the only good part of the road.
Yeah. So again, I don't know if there's any specific action to take. I just wanted to make you aware. I'm sure some of you have seen some of those numbers and like, whoa, how come we're so high on that? I wanted to explain that and go over that.
Well, how many miles of pipe does this capital plan?
Right now, we're budgeted to do 2 miles of pipe, and that's what we've got in our plan right now. So,
Because I thought that when we first did this, it was a little concerning, because we talked about it was gonna cost us $1.2 million in order to 600,000 at least per mile.
if you remember,
$1 million a mile we were talking, and then last year we approved the 600 and something thousand dollars for 2 miles, and it didn't seem to make sense, but.
right, and a lot of that is because a big number in this budget is to do parts of Taylor Pond, which is relatively inexpensive work because it's not buried very deep. I mean, you could, it's only a foot deep in some spots, and it's not paved, so you can get a lot of footage done for a low cost. So that's why some of those numbers were surprising. And if you remember, you had kind of said, well, geez, we've got the money, let's do more. So we had kind
That's
of.
what I thought, we could do more, if it was that cheap, we could do more miles, but.
One thing, I know we'll talk about it under project update, but another thing we had done was we added Dunn Street. But we'll talk about that. But again, this was just an FYI.
Okay.
Anybody,
sure you're aware.
anybody else want to have any questions or
I have a
thoughts
couple
on
of
it?
comments I wanted to bring up.
On regards to that
No,
subject
no,
or a different
more-
one? And before we go on from the Capitol, anybody have anything else? Okay, good. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, I was just wondering, first of all, I see that the Lake Auburn watershed protection, the line item is double. Is that because of legal fees? Is that where we're putting when I look at, because our expenses are
I
off
think-
by 75,000, so I see.
74 and 83 is really close. It's only June.
I think that's timing with the way the commission bills us. I think that's
Yes.
what that is.
It is.
But we can, we can
Because I
It
thought-
just
verify
hasn't
that.
been taken out yet. Yeah, it hasn't been billed out yet.
So how
So
that
there's no
works.
credit on there.
Their budget's set, they haven't requested more
Right.
money from us, so at this point, we're
So
not
we
planning to pay them
ahead for the
anymore.
year?
It's just the way that the timing of it is.
Okay.
The one right above it, the gull management, it's already up to $36,000, and we have a $63,000 budget supposedly for that. So things aren't supposed to go over budget. But this is, as of May, it looks like 36,000. It's
They get
only
busy in the
May,
fall,
we got
right?
a whole rest of the year ahead of us, and look, and I
Again,
mean,
that's another one that every year this kind of comes up, and it's a timing thing. You're busy with that in the spring, and then you're busy with that in the fall. And then there's no activity in the winter. The lake's iced over, knock on
what
wood.
about the summer?
In the summer months, it's actually relatively slow during the molting phases and the nesting phases. It's really when the birds are traveling, when they're migrating north and south.
They're
The
eating
flyway-
at Tabors.
Right, the flyway is the Androscoggin River, and what we don't want them doing is spending the night in Lake Auburn.
Right.
So that's where the gull harassment comes in. So
So-
it's a timing thing. I've nothing to be concerned with there. I think we're going to be just fine.
Well, I
Thank
see
you.
the UV is up a lot, that's over what it should be. Is that because of chemical costs, I would assume, or something?
Yeah, definitely. Chemical cost is the biggest
Again.
driver with UV. Yep.
We're kind of helpless there, but you were talking about we're down a couple of people? That's on the sewer side.
That's just the sewer
I'm
side.
looking
Yep.
at our overall payroll year to date, and we're above, when you look at gross payroll expense on this sheet here.
Yep.
And we're above, so we're hitting a kind of a perfect storm I don't like. That is, revenues are down, expenses are way up, including employee costs, everything is like, I'd just like to make sure we've dug into it. I know we've got some money that we can lean on, but that really was designed for
The next 3 months, our payroll won't be hitting that line. It's going to be hitting projects. So that number will even out as we go. that number that you're referring to now is high because of the winter maintenance, the number of main breaks we wind up having and the amount of labor we spend repairing that stuff. So as we do more project work, the labor on that, the regular budget's gonna iron out. So,
I always get, it's very confusing when you think about the labor's out there, but it doesn't get charged anything until it ends up to actually
Right.
do the job and charge it to it, so it's really a confusing thing, but I think we just gotta watch this really close. This kind of thing scares me. The actual water sales being down, maybe
Trish is
people
on top
aren't
of it.
watering their lawns.
We had a lot of rain.
But is that the reason we think, maybe? I mean, we usually try to use the same budget, right, year over year?
yep, 0% increase is what we project, yep.
And we take what we can get, and we usually
Yeah.
have an increase, because you talked about all of these new places coming online, we should be seeing steady but small increases, we shouldn't be seeing
Yep,
decreases.
no, we definitely haven't
St.
seen
Ridge
the.
is a good example.
We haven't seen the big, usually I'll actually see it on our trends for SCADA, and it's that heat of summer, people are filling pools, washing cars, watering lawns. I mean, it's been raining for 30 days, it seems. I haven't seen that boom yet. I'm anticipating summer's gonna hit here at some point. It's certainly summer out in Texas, so it's gonna find its way.
Theoretically.
It's gonna find its way to the East Coast, so. Yeah, we don't have much control over that. I haven't seen anything on any of our billings that would say that whether a big customer was way down in usage. I haven't seen that. I just think it's an overall,
Yeah,
We haven't seen a decline in customer.
no,
Right.
we've had seen an increase in customers.
that's what I mean, yeah, that's why the whole thing kind of doesn't, just gotta keep an eye on it, that's all.
Dan?
Like the motion to ratify payment of bills?
Okay, well, we're on financial report still.
Okay.
So
Well,
we don't worry,
Is
so
There's no
this,
second?
is this important?
what?
We're on financial report?
Okay, I can hold.
Okay. Does anybody, Andy,
No,
I
I'm not-
thought that was legit
Yep.
and all important, I agree. And Dan's usually the one that's extending our meetings with arbitrary input, but he's moving us along, that's good, he must have somewhere to go.
No, thank you, I'll always have questions, don't be
No,
intimidated.
that's fine, I'm used to it.
Yeah, good, so, all very pertinent and
I just like
very
to watch it
valuable
next month,
info.
we'll just
Oh,
look
yeah.
at that,
I
we're
think
seeing
it's-
trends, it's
So do
kind of
I
scary.
think, we knew this was coming. We knew this.
2 miles of pipe.
2 miles of pipe, but we knew that inflation was hitting.
COVID
and that
Double and all
This
that.
next budget's gonna be worse,
Yeah,
because it's all catching up to us now. So we knew that was coming, so
So we need to
Bonded.
look
it's a
at.
good thing we
potential
bonded
increase.
even under with a dogfight,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
right.
did it.
And what are you getting for an interest rate on the?
I'll have to get back to you next month. The interest, we're actually making pretty good interest on that CD.
Because
Yeah.
they're paying well right now. And
Yeah.
you figure what we paid, what we're paying for interest as opposed to what we're
We
paying
should
for
have an
imagine if we're
arbitrage.
making money
Yeah.
on the
I think
bond.
There's an
I think it
arbitrage
came,
there.
I think
Yeah.
it came back, when they rolled it back, it came back at 1.1, so $100,000 in interest.
and the next one, the roll should be much
It should be
higher.
rolled, yeah,
What, the CD?
yes.
That's
Yeah.
all it's been.
Well, it was 6 months ago.
Oh, okay.
So, I know that my bank, one of my banks was trying to sell me a CD for 5.5%.
Those are long term usually, though, that's the problem.
This was 9 months.
No.
9
What
months.
was the
Yeah,
minimum?
9 months.
Minimum?
I don't know, I'm just saying, that we got,
Huge right
so
It's out
I
there.
would, so I guess we're all saying is, as this comes closer, and maybe with some of this cash on hand, if we can get something 6 months, even 3 months, at 5%,
Mhm.
I think the local folks are doing it. Maybe we could throw that on your plate to do a
When
little
is that
shopping
one
around.
mature? When's that one done?
I don't know, do we have a
Oh.
policy on how much can be how much can be put in?
Well, we like to keep our cash on hand at a healthy level. I think
We're healthy.
We're above where we need to be. We can look at that, and we can bring
Just
that
something
back
think
to you
about
next
here in
month.
the future,
Yeah.
is when that-
Maybe
You're
you
gonna wanna
guys can
keep
chat
your-
about that.
Yeah, you're gonna wanna keep your cash on hand on at least 6 months of
Yeah.
expenses. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you chat on that and see if there's something that we, knowing that 6 months from now, we got $1 million coming back, that if there's some, if we think we're clear, that maybe with the, because it is, we're gonna have a, okay.
All right.
That's what we're saying, all right. So, we have a motion to ratify the payment of bills.
I move the ratify payment of bills.
I'll second it.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
Any questions?
Anybody have any input? Bob, all your questions are answered?
2 questions,
Okay.
yeah.
All in favor? Okay. Public comment?
Oh, I'm just an interested listener.
Okay. No public comment, so we're gonna close. Activity and project update, Mr. Brown.
All right, things have been going really well here operationally. We were very happy to, last meeting you all met Matthew Wade, he's our new assistant superintendent. He had a prior engagement commitment, that's why he can't be here tonight. But he's been doing a really good job working with our crews, scheduling and getting through this mess and this busy time of year. A lot going on out there. We're flushing hydrants, we're working on stuff, we're got all these construction projects going on. Did anyone have anything that stood out to them on the activity report itself? I know, Bob, you asked a question about Greenfield.
Yeah.
That was,
You answered that.
okay,
You
you're all
answered
set?
that. Under services, what happened at 30 Golander?
Services 30 Golander.
The one that-
Was that where the?
The one that doesn't have
so-
anything on it?
So that
Yeah.
one, that was a police emergency.
That was the.
That was an active shooter situation. and
Oh, okay, so that's, okay, that was the 30 Golander. I wasn't gonna connect the two of them.
We were retained, we actually, the way they got that,
Why did we have to go up there?
the way they got that suspect out of the house is they flooded the house out with our water.
No, the basement.
So they flooded them out. So it worked.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
And we are getting, they did add our expenses onto the charges. So he will be responsible for our costs. So, under project update, again, lots going on. I kind of touched on some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Hotel Road, we're getting a lot done. We're ahead of schedule on the Vernon area. We've got Parker done. We're working on Row next. We have French's Lane. Those are the last 2 stretches over there. We're starting up on 2nd Street, and things are going well there. We should have Hotel Road wrapped up this week. They're out there right now, wrapping up the last 2 pieces of that. One thing that we voted on back in February, I came to this board, the city added a side street to the bid for 2nd. They added Dunn Street, and I requested approval of $45,000 for us to replace 2 sections of Dunn Street. It's actually these two pieces of Dunn. One thing that's changed, as I mentioned, construction schedules evolve. The contractor that got this job is the same contractor that's doing Mount Auburn Ave, the same one that's doing Vernon and Grove, and they're not going to get to this one until later in July, which means they're not going to finish 2nd Street this year, and they're not going to get Dunn Street this year. Which, the part that hurts us is, well, we want to get 2 miles of pipe done. Well, how can I get my 2 miles of pipe done if you cancel all that work and you push it off till next year? Then that kills my planning.
The city did that?
Well, it's the city's contract is open up so they can get the work done by, it could be 2024. They give them a large window to try to get a better price. So the contractor, instead of being anxious till we're gonna start day 1, they're saying, we're not gonna start over there till we get these other ones wrapped up, and then we'll get over here. And, so one thing I've looked at, so now that it hurts the savings to us because they're not gonna reconstruct this year. So if I dig this up, I gotta repave it this year. Which
Paving is terrible, and expensive.
there goes the money.
So we don't want to do that.
Well, one thing we've looked at is we worked with ETTI Enterprise Electric out on Hotel Road. I don't know if any of you saw the videos that we put up there. They basically did directional boring, and they bored underneath Hotel Road so we didn't have to do cross trenches.
Yeah.
That's how we got the services on the long side connected to the main on the opposite side. So we did reach out to Enterprise, and we got a quote for $29,000 for them to come in here and basically bore and replace, and that includes the cost of the pipe, because when you bore it, you have to use HDPE rather than the Bionex that we use now. So it includes the cost of the pipe. They're going to bore it for $29,000. So they basically you'll dig in an excavation pit here. They'll bore back to here. They'll bore back to there. Do the testing. Pipe's done. Connect your services.
How many did they have to do? Just one across
There's
the
2
road?
sections of main. So this is not like Hotel Road. This is actually boring up and down the streets. On Hotel Road, you were going perpendicular to the road.
So they're gonna replace the main.
They're gonna replace the main, and we won't have to repave both sections of the street. We'll just have to repave smaller excavation pits
For
to do the work.
$29,000
For
bucks?
$29,000.
How does that compare to the cost of us?
Well, I had asked for approval of $45,000 for us to do Dunn Street. I think we're gonna, add the 29 for them. I've gotta pave the pits, we gotta connect the services up. I think we're gonna be right around the 50 grand mark. But
Okay, so it won't be
we're
that
very close. I just wanted to test the waters and see if you wanted to proceed with this, or
Yeah, so if we didn't
we've got the
fire
cash
10
on
grand,
hand.
I mean,
Okay.
Will the old main stay in place?
No. This one will on the upper section because right now this runs directly under the curbing, and the curbing on Dunn is all granite, and the city's not going to replace that. So if we dig the curbing up, then we have to replace the curbing. So the city actually asked me, can you leave that there? And then it'll actually be better, we can bore a new one in the road without having to dig up the road, and we can leave the other one under the curbing and not pay for the curbing.
Great.
So it should all work. But so if you guys are all good with that, we'll run with it, and I'll let you know.
Well, that's great thinking outside of the box.
Yeah, it
Trying
sounds
to-
like it might be an
trying
interesting.
to get it done.
If it works,
Well, they work very well for us up on Hotel Road.
does that open up, then if this continues to be, is this open up that maybe
It
we're not
very
gonna be
well
as
could.
dependent upon the city to
You know,
replace pipe?
We can do a lot of pipe doing these, trenchless technologies, so to speak, whether through pipe bursting or through directional drilling. It could be a way to, if they're not doing as much reconstruction work, and we can continue to replace our pipe and stay safe
Yeah.
as much as we can.
Yeah, sounds good.
The other thing, we actually saved this $29,000 proposal. We're saving 20% on this because right now this company is working for Glidden on Mill Street, and they're directionally drilling all of their electrical conduit for the new light posts for the crosswalks. So they said, look, we're already mobilized. If you can do this, they want to do this work next week. I said, well, I've got a water board, I want to run it by the trustees, but right now, pencil me in your schedule and I will let you know. So I knew I was already approved for the 45, I just wanted to bring it
I
up.
mean,
text them right now.
All right.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff, I know, that's the kind of stuff that I certainly would never have a problem with.
Okay.
Making those kind of decisions and letting us know afterwards. If the guy says, hey, can you do it tomorrow? And you've got to make an executive decision, something that makes a lot of sense like that, I don't think
Okay.
you're gonna have any trouble from the board.
All right.
Like,
And you're gonna be able to do the temporary
if
service?
it's $1 million bucks,
so the customer's
then maybe
okay?
you'd wanna,
It's gonna be taken care of, yep.
if it's $1 million bucks,
Oh, no,
then
yeah,
maybe, but.
I felt I had the window with the meeting today, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't start till next
Yeah.
week, so.
But I want to give you, I guess, encourage you to, using common sense, that when you get an opportunity, to pull the trigger,
All right, thank you. Okay.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quick question, how, this technology, is it something the district should look at for future? To maybe own or operate or own?
And a paving company.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. The Enterprise Electric is kind of the whole Enterprise family, they're based out of Lisbon. They used to be ETTI, their big trenchless technology. They wound up getting bought up by Unitil. So they had this huge garage. They used to do all this work, and the gas company bought the whole organization because the gas company uses them all the time for this type of work, and it saves them, I'm sure around the state, millions of dollars on all these
Oh,
projects.
yeah.
So ETTI kept one setup. They kept one, and they said, well, we're going to keep this for our electrical division. And we've been lucky that they've been willing to, hey, they're working with us, and so it's working good. But definitely we can see where this evolves.
Yeah.
Is there anything else under that in the area that they're gonna do directional drilling, other than our water pipe, no communications, no?
We're good to go.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yep.
All right, so if that's it for activity report, project update, thank you. And we're gonna move on to old business and our sustainable water supply alternatives committee.
So we met last week. We do have a proposal from Weston and Sampson that the committee would like to bring to this board's attention at the July meeting. So
Okay,
I guess that's the status that we've got right now, but we are requesting to have an agenda item to discuss at the July meeting.
good, let's put it on there.
All right. That's all I have for that.
Lake Auburn Watershed Protection Commission update.
All right, so on the back of your packets, you should see a report from CDM Smith. Look at that, I already misplaced mine. This proposal was, as I mentioned earlier, or I guess we talked about, we met with the drinking water program. So with CDM Smith, our watershed manager, myself, and a representative from Lewiston, and this CDM Smith employee who's been working on this basically ran down through their process, what they've done, and they confirmed with the drinking water program that it met all of their concerns that they outlined to us earlier in the year, their concerns with moving the boundary. So it was glad to see that we did address those issues. They pulled the correct information together, and they completed this work. So what they've done, if you look to the fourth page there, basically shows the only page that has a map in their presentation. I know this is kind of hard to see, but this map was actually produced by the Maine Drinking Water Program back when they gave comments on moving the watershed boundary. They drew this dashed line across the pit. It actually has a star on it. It's kind of like a semicircle parallel to Gracelawn Road. The Drinking Water Program said, hey, we've reviewed the data from FB and from CEI and CDM Smith. We understand the conservative boundary. We think there's enough data to support you could put the watershed boundary right here without doing anything further. So they had kind of suggested that. Well, what CDM Smith found was that was exactly correct, that they can conclusively prove that that area right now does not flow towards the lake. The groundwater doesn't go there, the surface water doesn't go there. There is no threat whatsoever that that water is going to get into the lake. There is concerns in that, right where that circle is kind of drawn, and I know that's hard to see in here, but it's kind of that center arrow, the modeling work that they did, that arrow is in question. There is evidence that suggests that within that circle, portions of that water could flow towards the lake.
But isn't that circle outside, toward the lake side of the dotted dashed line?
Yes.
Yes.
So, but that's gonna be,
But that's inside the
That's
whole,
inside.
it's inside FB, Bob.
It's inside FB, and it's inside what even CDM Smith had thought they had found previously. So the work that they just conducted showed that through our looking at the available data, that could flow towards the lake. So that's why they agreed with this dashed line. The reason you can't confirm whether it's in or out is there is no groundwater monitoring wells that are currently available to confirm the direction of flow. So as part of this, if you read through this proposal, basically they're saying for $150,000, or $140,000, excuse me, they could determine conclusively if that area could be in or out of the watershed. Also, what's not addressed in this dashed line is a piece of property that's to the southwest of this line over here, which is part of the Gracelawn pit. They would like to develop that. There are no groundwater wells to confirm or conclusively determine which way does the groundwater flow go. You can theorize and you can speculate, but you can't prove that it doesn't flow towards the lake. So you would need to have wells installed to do that. And that's what this presentation outlines.
so Gender and Gender, if they wanna do that additionally, they should be paying for those wells.
The commission felt that that was the way to go with this. I mean, they paid for this study and this analysis. CDM Smith has said by the first week in July, they will produce a report and they will definitively define where the watershed boundary can safely be. And it is going to be very close to this line the Drinking Water Program has drawn on here. It actually will be a little bit more land in area than what Drinking Water Program has done. It'll basically follow their conservative boundary and then go across from there to that point. So give or take, it's 80 to 90 acres currently now that's in the watershed that they're going to say that's conclusively out. And they'll provide in that report, it's going to be a direct a statement of this is what's needed to be done if you want to confirm those other areas. If a contractor or a private owner or an entity or somebody else wants to pay to do that work, then we could determine if that one was in or out as well. So that's basically where we're at with this. Yeah, so that was the CDM Smith presentation, and they're promising to have a report by the first week of July.
So it's $400,000 of expenses in here. How much of that are we buying into?
$400,000.
Yeah, you add up all those figures, where is it? Oh, well, my glasses are, oh yeah, the last page.
No,
Last page?
no.
The
So
last page is $400,000 worth of expenses right there.
the $19,000, $19,800 was already paid for by the commission. The commission funded that study. That's the study that you're going to get the report on the first week of July.
So that was
Commission paid for that.
basically, Lewis pays for half of it, we pay for half.
Exactly, basically. The $140,000 recommendation, if you add up those bottom figures, that comes up to $140,000. They just broke out what the different allocations would be to make up the $140,000.
It asked me what general would want to pay if they wanted to have more land out of the watershed. They'd have to pay that price.
Right, or do that work,
Or
you
do the
know?
work themselves or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're only committed, and we're only going to commit to the 19.8.
That's all that the commission committed to at that time.
Thank you.
I think it's great to hear that. I mean, at least we know what's going on, and
Yeah.
you know, we have the science now, the third study in a row, and that kind of met in the middle with the other studies, and so I think it's great.
So that's the update on the commission side
Great.
that I have for tonight.
All right, anybody have any other questions? All right, we're going to water quality update.
All right, in your packet, there should be a couple of graphs if you want to take a look at those. We've had a pretty rocky year this year. As you know, the big rain event we had in December, you're fine. The rain event we had in December, you know, we went into the first this year with very high turbidity. That's your graph you see on the first one that you see there. You see that black line coming into January 1, well above normal. And then you see what happened at May 1st.
Where do you see January 1?
Number 1 all the way to the right on the bottom.
Yep.
So that's the beginning of the calendar year. And the number of days, if you go all the way through, 365 would be the end of the year.
So we're only getting up to 285 right now?
Yeah, right now we're at 165 days into the year.
Julian calendar type thing. Right?
Yes, correct. So,
Would that be more layman's terms by putting the months in there? I mean, just wondering if that's possible.
I can ask them to add it. You know, I've always looked at that myself too, but you know, yeah, that's a good suggestion. I can bring that up. The good news is that water quality is actually improving at a rather rapid rate right now. I think a lot of that is attributed to the lake temperature, and we're normalizing more. We haven't had the hot dog days of summer yet. It's done nothing but rain and cool temperatures, so that's helped get some of the nutrients that kind of influx that came in during those rain events. It's helped those work their way out of the lake, and for the temperature to stabilize and not have any blooms of any type. I'm not saying we're out of the water, but right now things are good. Water quality looks really well. The SECI readings improved dramatically in the last month, and you know, we're looking pretty good.
Brook's running a lot cleaner?
Yeah, everything's normalized and looking really good. So we're doing good.
Excellent, excellent. Good, so let's go to the audit.
So last meeting, you've all voted to approve the draft audit. I do have the finished audit here. I've got 3 extra copies if anybody wants one.
Give Andy his copy. And then
Andy,
anybody else want one besides Andy?
If
This is my usually a reading one.
anyone else,
Just sitting by the lake.
I thought you'd take one, Dan.
again,
If it's an audit on water distribution of the UV plant,
Right.
I would look at it.
Yeah. Or an audit of the Gulf management plan.
So, yeah, go back, right. I'm sure that's in here.
Good.
that's just a formality, just to make
Right.
sure the board has that.
Thank you.
We're gonna have,
Anybody have any questions on the audit?
we'll have the same company next year, you think?
Yes, I did
I know everybody's
sign a
talking.
commitment letter to, I mean, we voted in March, we made them our auditor, so
I know, because people are having trouble finding audit companies, so make sure.
We've been, everything I've seen, we've been very happy with their services. Their price is good, they're good firm, so.
And they've seen ours a lot, have seen it already, so they're consistent with, so they're natural to them.
Good. All right, new business, the lead assistant grant.
All right, I know I forwarded you all an email here about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. I'll try to summarize this real quickly. The lead and copper rule was revised by EPA. The revised lead and copper rule requires that all water entities across the country must submit a lead service line inventory by October of 2024. That includes the Auburn Water District. We need to complete this inventory. What's this inventory? Basically is an accounting of every service that we have under 2 inches. And we need to know what the material type is of that service from the main all the way into the home. Our records are very good on our end of the service lines. We have 6,412 customers, and we have nearly that many tie cards showing the records of our services. They're very good, they show that. What they don't say is what's on the private property side. We don't own that, we don't have the rights to access it. It's not ours. If it breaks, we don't fix it. We do have some records. We're a responsible entity. We stay involved with our customer base. If we know Bob's fixing his service line, we go out and inspect that, and hopefully we jot notes down on what we saw and what was repaired. So we do have a lot of information. There is going to be holes in our report. There's going to be a lot of holes. I'm anticipating between 1,000 and 2,000 unknowns. The EPA says if you report an unknown, it's considered lead. So if by October of next year I put an unknown on, it's lead. Water systems across the country are much different, regionally really. The Northeast, there is very few lead service lines in the Northeast, period. I've met with many colleagues from around the state. We're all in the same boat. I don't know of any lead services. If I knew of a lead service last year, it would have been on our budget this year. We'd have gone in there and we'd have removed it, whether it was on our side or their side. We would have done that. And this district did that for years in the past. If we knew of lead, we got rid of it. So I don't know of any lead services right now, but I will tell you there's going to be unknowns. There are a lot of parts of the country where systems have thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of lead services. So the EPA and the stimulus monies that have been going over the last year have been giving states buckets of money to federally fund lead replacement projects. Maine's bucket has been overwhelmed. It's overflowing. Nobody's applying for money to replace lead service lines because there are none. The state is now at the point where they're fearful that they're going to lose their bucket of money that they've been given, and it's going to go back to other states where there's more lead. So they are gotten creative in their approval of projects to lend this money out. I found out in April when we hosted a bi-monthly meeting for Maine Water Utilities. I had it up at the East Auburn Baptist Church. We got an update from the Maine Drinking Water Program, and they said at that time that they had funded 6 Vector trucks already to systems in Maine. And it caught my attention because he said they did it at 55% principal forgiveness and 0% loans over a 10-year term. You'll never get another opportunity like that. So it's been on my list since April. I looked into it. So the way that I justify this is if I have to excavate 2,000 test pits before October of next year to determine if somebody's service is lead or not, if I do that with a backhoe, I have to dig up a 6x8 hole. I've got to repave, I've got to reloam, I've got to seed. I'm responsible for that trench to dig down and determine that. If we have a hydro excavation, we use a Vector truck, I can hydro excavate down a hole the size of the sheet of paper. We can go straight down, we go to the service, we determine what it is, we bury the hole, much smaller footprint. You run the numbers to do it. Traditional excavation, it's over $3 million to do 2,000 services. If you do it hydro excavation, it's $300,000. So I've applied for this grant loan for a Vector truck for the Auburn Water District. The good news is, when we get through this project, we could either sell the truck off if we're done using it. We could allocate it to the sewer district, and the water district can get paid back. We could we could do anything we want with it. It would be our truck to use for this purpose. I don't want to get into the weeds of that too far. We haven't been approved for it yet, but I have submitted it. I did work with 2 other utilities that had already been approved for this, so I made sure that I was very close and I was consistent with their application, so I have no reason to believe that we won't get this. At this point, the money's a first come, first serve, and I know everybody's going for it. So that's why I did it, before I notified you. We don't have to take it. If we get the grant, we could decline it.
We did talk about it. You and I talked about it.
Yes, I did reach out to Steve before I mailed this. I wanted to check with him, and he said, no, absolutely, go for it. Go for 2.
I said 2.
I did look into it. There are caps. There are caps to it. So I went for what we could, and we'll find out shortly, I
That makes sense
suspect.
to me.
And our Vector truck is 10 years old, and we just had a $15,000 bill on it.
The Vector truck that's owned by the sewer district is now 10 years old this year, and it's aging, and it's...
We could
sell that one.
Yeah, we could sell that one and make up the other 45% and get a free truck.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I was looking at replacing our Vector truck this past fall. I was hemming and hawing, it's 10 years old, do you do it this year? We were meeting with vendors, and they were appraising ours at a value of around $200,000. Our truck that we paid $330,000 for 10 years ago is still holding,
Wow.
2/3 of its value. We've kept it in very good shape.
Do you think the age of the truck might have be a factor in us getting the money?
No,
They don't care.
I can't even tell them that we have it.
No.
And they wouldn't give us the money if I said we had one. That belongs to the sewer district, that doesn't belong to the water district.
Okay.
So,
Right.
Yep, sounds good.
Right. Water district.
Oh, what about the mini loader? That's what, 12, 13 years old, and there's a hydraulic issues with it?
That's not the lead assistant grant.
no,
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the formation of the ad hoc committee of the watershed protections, go ahead. Ron.
Open it up for nominations, or?
so we, after our last meeting, we supported the recommendations of the commission. They sent us the letter of recommendation. We supported that, but basically said, well, you just can't do these things. It takes work. The city of Auburn is basically, they are consistent with everything the commission recommended to us. So why wouldn't we work together, city of Auburn, Auburn Water District, the commission's recommending it, the city's recommending it, the district supports it. Let's pull Lewiston in and let's get this ad hoc committee and get everybody on the same page. So I spoke with Phil Kroll about this yesterday. He without even hesitating said, John and Eric, I will make sure their time is available to do that if they want to, whatever. So they're going to appoint 2, district appoints 2, the commission appoints 2, and Lewiston will appoint 2. And if this board supports it, after this, I'll send out a letter tomorrow to those other 3 entities and encourage a meeting the first or second week of July and pull this together and start working on this stuff. I really think this is a way to mediate some of the tensions that are going on around. It seems like everybody wants the same thing. So let's start working on it. So.
Good. So, do we need to formally nominate anybody, or are we?
Yeah, I think
we should.
If we whether we do a nomination or we just take a vote that, okay, these 2 will be our reps. My thought was that it would be a trustee and a staff member, and I certainly would be more than willing to be on that. If 2 trustees wanted to be on it, I could still go and take minutes at these things or do
So
whatever.
I guess the recommendation would be,
Yeah, I would like to make a motion for the formation of an ad hoc committee, which would be represented by President Steve Milks and Superintendent Mike Broadbent. Second.
okay? Anybody have any comments on that? Okay, all in favor? Great, 7-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you.
One more thing you don't have to pay for.
I made $150 last year.
In the right
I'm a
CD,
pro.
right CD, that'd be 125.
There we go.
That's right. Okay, so, trustee open session. Anybody have anything they want to get off their chest?
Just one thing, future agenda item. The Southern Link Trail, is everyone familiar with the plan like a decade ago? it's kind of run into a little bit of roadblock. It's to go from the boat launch area along the southern part of Lake Auburn through Gendron's Pit. I don't think there's public information on that now, but there's always been talks of easements with different companies through that, and we're getting a lot of those easements. And it'll come out by Margaret Berry's house. So you could put your rollerblades on and just cruise right to East Auburn from your
That's
house.
pretty cool. So it's gonna
Yeah,
go all the way around the lake?
6 foot, no, well, southern part, southern lake
Okay,
trail.
all right.
So there is a little bit of a roadblock. Eric, a kid, our water quality manager, there's some parcels that LawPEC owns that have specifically no development in those easements when they were transferred from the city of Lewiston, or when they transferred from the Auburn Water District to the LawPEC. So what I like to do, and I'm working with the Lake Association too, it's a nonprofit, is I'd like to possibly get that as an agenda item, and I'll have more information on that for next month.
On the ad hoc.
Well, it's not really an ad hoc thing, it's just, I think Jim Pross would be good just to look at the easement language that's in there, and the whole watershed management plan promotes recreation, as long as we do it environmentally safe. There needs to be some interpretation and maybe something that might happen in the polar when we, to allow that trail to continue.
Okay.
So, but it makes sense, I mean, there's no development, which includes recreation, really.
Right. The trail's not gonna hurt anything.
Pretty much. I mean, I want to fills that, but I mean, it'll get people closer to what could be a reservoir someday, who knows? But we have fences for that kind of stuff too, and barbed wire and cameras and.
Yeah, right, so.
And the trail is being designed so it's not right on the water either.
Right.
So you're not going to be throwing your gum out or chewing your tobacco and throwing it in there, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a future agenda item, we just call it Southern Link Trail discussion.
Yeah, so, okay, let's do that in an agenda item, and then we'll come up with a plan in that agenda item.
Yeah.
I agree with that, that's good, okay.
And I'll have some legal that's being paid for by the Lake Association. I'll have some information for us on that.
Great, that'd be awesome. We should do that trail.
Everyone wants to do it, but
Everyone wants to do it, let's do it, we just gotta do it.
right now it's the landowners, which is the Watershed Protection Commission land, because of this easement language, deed restriction.
Right, okay. Good to know. Anybody else, any other trustees have anything they'd like to share? Get off their chest, talk about.
I checked when I came in.
I did too. I've got a good one to tell you.
Nervous reaction.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you something, you're gonna laugh.
Okay. We have an executive session.
That's not needed, sorry.
Not needed, okay. We're gonna, yep, you're good. We're not doing that executive session.
Don't leave us.
But we're gonna adjourn.
Oh, we're gonna adjourn.
Yay!
No, I'll stay and ask Mike one question,
Okay, so-
tangential to.
Do I have, that leaves only item number 11.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, everybody say hey.
Hey!
Hey.
All right.
Okay, we're adjourned. What about that, huh?
Yeah, remember I said last evening, we had some of the.
What's up, Steve?
Technical.